The history of silence in courtrooms, how silence was built. The first thing most people notice when they walk into a courtroom isn't the judge, it isn't the seal on the wall, it isn't the flags, the benches, or the case number being called. It's the silence.
Not complete silence,
But a controlled one. A silence that feels intentional. Most people assume that silence is simply part of the environment, the natural result of people being serious about the law. But that assumption is wrong. Courtroom silence is not natural. It is manufactured, built carefully over time, adjusted through trial and error, and preserved because it works better than force ever could. Today, we're going to take courtroom silence apart piece by piece and look at how it was made, how it functions, and why it remains one of the most effective tools of authority in the modern world. Before there were courtrooms, there were disputes, and before there were judges, there were crowds. Early systems of justice were loud by necessity. Communities gathered in open spaces. Arguments overlapped. Supporters shouted. Emotions escalated. And for a long time, that noise was accepted as unavoidable. But leaders noticed something important. When people shouted, decisions were unstable. Outcomes changed depending on who spoke last, who spoke loudest, or who had the most people standing behind them. Noise made authority fragile. Silence solved that problem. Not immediately, not formally. At first, silence appeared informally. When elders spoke, others learned to wait. When judgment was delivered, conversation stopped. No one needed to explain why. Silence signaled seriousness. This was the first stage of the process. Silence as expectation. Once expectation existed, enforcement became unnecessary. Breaking silence didn't violate a law. It violated a norm, and norms are more powerful than rules. As societies grew more complex, disputes became more frequent, and judgment moved indoors. This is where silence began to change. Walls didn't just contain people, they contained sound. Every cough echoed, every footstep announced itself, every whispered comment felt disruptive. Noise suddenly had consequences, and silence gained weight. This is where the system quietly shifted. Courtrooms began to be designed around sound. High ceilings diffused echoes, thick walls absorbed vibration. Heavy doors sealed off outside noise. Benches were built rigid and uncomfortable, discouraging movement. Floors were solid, ensuring footsteps were heard. Nothing about this was accidental. The goal wasn't comfort. The goal was stillness. Stillness slows time. When movement is limited, minutes feel longer. When sound is controlled, attention sharpens. Silence forces people inward. It makes them aware of themselves. That awareness changes behavior. People sit straighter. They lower their voices. They think before speaking. Once this worked, it never went away. But silence didn't just shape behavior. It reshaped perception. In a quiet room, pauses feel intentional. A delay before answering feels meaningful. A hesitation sounds like doubt. A pause after a statement feels final. Silence magnifies uncertainty. That's why lawyers pause before questions. That's why judges wait before speaking. That's why verdicts feel heavier the moment the room goes quiet. Most people never notice this part. Silence doesn't treat everyone equally. Judges can break it at will. Attorneys speak by permission. Witnesses speak when prompted. Observers remain silent by default. This hierarchy is never announced. It is learned. Silence teaches roles without instruction. And then there is the record. Court transcripts capture words, not quiet. They record what was said, but not what was withheld. They preserve dialogue, but not hesitation. They document statements, not pauses. Important moments often happen in silence. A glance exchanged, a question withdrawn, a pause that changes a decision. These moments shape outcomes but leave no trace. Silence protects institutions from full exposure. If every moment were recorded, systems would be rigid. Silence allows flexibility. It allows discretion. This solved one problem and created another. Efficiency increased. Transparency decreased. Modern courtrooms added microphones, cameras, and digital recording. But silence didn't disappear. It adapted. Microphones make quiet moments feel deliberate. Cameras make stillness feel official. Even live-streamed courtrooms preserve silence as a feature. People still lower their voices instinctively. They still wait for permission to speak. They still feel the weight of the room. Silence remains the invisible structure holding everything together. Outside the courtroom, silence is rare. Phones buzz. Conversations overlap. Sound competes constantly. Inside, silence signals a different reality. Here, time slows. Here, authority doesn't need to raise its voice. Here, rules feel older than the people enforcing them. This is why silence can feel intimidating, and why it can also feel reassuring. It promises order, even when outcomes are uncertain. Silence isn't empty. It's active. It filters behavior. It reinforces hierarchy. It allows systems to function without constant enforcement. It persists because it works. The gavel doesn't create order by making noise. It creates order by ending it. When the sound stops, silence takes over. And in that silence, decisions are shaped, authority is reinforced, and systems speak without ever raising their voice. If you enjoyed this documentary, consider supporting the channel by liking the video, sharing it, and subscribing to First Frame Documentaries for more inviting, process-driven stories about how the world around us is quietly built.